I've now removed the cover. There is a few bits of damage on it, a few bits of cracks here that need repairing. The plastic here shouldn't be like that, it should be more like this one here. There's a crack here as well, and a little bit of a crack right at the front. So I'm going to have to repair those before I can go any further. I still need to clean off some of the little bits that are left on of the cover. Once I've done all that, I need to work out how I'm going to cover it. Now I can't cover it in one piece like the original, so I'm going to have to make it in probably two pieces. So this part here, the raised bit in the centre, that will be one piece, and then the outside will be another piece. So I've now fixed all the cracks. I've done the prep, which just means I give it a quick sand down. Doesn't need a heavy sand, it just needs something for the glue to bond to. I always do that with plastics. It's never going to harm, it's only ever going to help. So the next thing is to work out how I'm going to do this. Now I've had to think about it overnight because it is the next day. What I think I'm going to do, I'm going to glue a piece of leather onto this raised part here. Once that's glued, I'm going to make a separate piece that is as the perimeter of this bit here, and the excess to go around the end. And I'm going to put a hem on that and top stitch it. It won't be stitched to this piece, it'll be completely separate, and it'll get glued into place. So it'll look like it's got a seam and it's top stitched and it's part of this piece, but it actually isn't. But I think it's going to be the easiest way to get the best result. I know a lot of people would have put a separate piece along the edge here, top stitched that, but I think having a top stitch here along this edge here and then another top stitch really close to it, I think it's just a bit too much. You can overdo it with top stitching. I think sometimes less is a little bit more. It'll not be a double row top stitching, it'll be a single. There's not a lot of room on this to put two rows of top stitching. It would just look a little bit funky, and it will match the dash because the dash isn't double top stitch, it's a single top stitch. So this will look the same. All I'll need to do now is to pattern this part here. It'll be oversized, but it will still be the pattern of this rectangle, because it'll just be a rectangle cut out of a piece of leather at the end of the day. Won't be anything else. Then I'll wipe this over with acetone. I'm going to glue it, or I'm going to apply glue, but I'm not going to apply glue with a spray. I'm going to apply glue with a brush to quite a lot of the areas, because there's a lot of little recesses. Spray doesn't always get in those recesses, so brushing all those little areas in with glue means that the glue gets in there, and the surface has got a bit of a, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but it's got a little square design on it. It's like textured. So I want to get glue inside all those textures just to give me the best chance of this gluing. I've also made a little block of wood here. I've just wrapped it in foam, and that is going to fit inside there. So when I put this second piece on, I'm going to clamp this down into here, and that'll stretch the leather in place and allow it to fit inside here, because things like this are quite tricky. Now there's another tricky part here. This, I'm not going to be able to cover this in one piece, so what I will do with that is just 3D print a little insert for in there that can be removed, because there are two mounting screws at the front here which I need, but having a little tray inside there will be absolutely fine. I'm not sure if it comes with something that covers that, like a little rubber mat. Sometimes they do, if they've got fixings, there's a rubber mat that covers them in a lot of car parts. I'm assuming there's something that fits in here. We've got the handbrake on this side, the gear stick here, so there's obviously something here, whether it's an ashtray or, because I think that's a cigarette lighter, so I'm assuming that's the ashtray, and I'm assuming it fits all the way up to this lip here. I hope it does. It will make my life easier if it does. Sometimes the trouble with getting parts like this just been sent to you with none of the bits attached, and you don't know where all the bits fit and how much you have to cover because the bits might cover loads of stuff that I'm putting work into. I'll try and cover it as much as it was covered before in the vinyl that was on it. So our first job is to do the patterning, and then I'll start to apply the leather. So instead of patterning this area that you say about the patterning plastic here, I've measured it. It is a rectangle effectively, apart from when it gets to this part that just kicks up. It just tapers in a little bit. So I've measured it and I've cut it out of a bit of patterning plastic, placed it on top, and it's absolutely fine. So instead of making a pattern, I am just literally gonna measure the hole, add a seam allowance, and then I'll cut it out and sew it together. Or not sew it together, sew the hem and the top stitch on. We should be fine with that. Now I'm going to make this hole a little bit smaller because I want to stretch the leather in, especially this way here. So I want it to be probably at least half an inch, 3/4, maybe even an inch smaller. So when I come to stretch it, because I need to stretch from about this point here, just so the leather will form better around these areas here. But everything else should be relatively alright. So I'll put this pattern to one side. I'm just going to measure how much leather I need for this bit here. Again, it's a rectangle but with extra on it, so I'll over measure it and cut it out. It's always better to have more. I'm going to trim the edges off anyway. Once I've glued it all down, I'll trim off the excess and leave me as little as possible. So that should be well oversized. So I also need to stretch this one in as well. By stretching it in, it'll actually allow the edges to fit nicer. Right, so I'm going to spray glue the leather. I'm going to let the glue go off for quite a while. I'm going to use heat to reactivate the glue anyway and make the leather a little bit more supple, just to help it get into place. And I'll apply glue via a brush to this part. I'm not going to glue the whole thing because I'm going to apply it by a brush. I can get away with not gluing everything in one go. I've just put a light coat of glue on here. I'm going to let that dry completely, and I'm going to apply a second coat. It'll just make sure that I've got a good coverage all over, rather than trying to put one heavy coat on. Sometimes one heavy coat is not the best. The best to do light coats and do two of them, and probably get a better result that way. So I'll let that go off. Like I said earlier, I'm going to heat activate the glue again anyway, so I want it to be completely dry. For this to dry, it should take about an hour to be dry and not tacky. But I could leave this glue overnight if I wanted to. I could probably leave it 2-3 days if I wanted to, and it would still get activated again by heat. So I don't have to worry about leaving it too long. But if I try and apply glue now to this glue that is still tacky, it'll potentially lift the glue that I've already just put on. So I want it to be dry as it can be, and then apply the second coat. So now it's just a waiting game. I'm not going to show you putting the second coat on because it's just the same as the first one, but I'll come back to you when I'm ready to glue the piece on. The glue is now dry, or I say dry, I don't mean dry. It's got a little bit of tack to it, so I'm going to start at this end and work my way forward. I want to get this bit here right on the very end in place and holding tight, and then I can stretch this towards the front. So I'm going to turn the steamer on and use some steam. That'll reactivate this glue. I've just lightly stretched it into place. I need to stretch it to get it to mould around the corners here. Once just this first inch or so is in place, then I can stretch it. Right guys, I just realised that I moved the camera to here so you can get a better view of what I was doing, and forgot to press record. So you didn't see any of that, but you can see now it's on, how it looks. What I need to do now is to trim off the excess. I'll leave, like I said earlier, I'll leave a little bit of leather, 1/8 of an inch, 3/16, something around that. Just enough so I can lay the other piece on top and there'll be no gaps. Now that has been quite difficult. I'm not 100% happy with it, but sometimes it's the way it goes. Now I'm going to leave that for tonight and have a look at it in the morning. It is getting quite late now. I will see you all in the morning. All the leather is now glued on to the console. There's a few little areas that I need to just do a little bit of tweaking on. I now need to cut this bit here out and then measure for the little insert that I'm going to 3D print. It's going to be a little bit tricky to measure this because we've got a curve here and a curve here, and it's a very slight curve. So I'm going to have to kind of guess the radius of that curve. I will try my best to measure it. I'll put a straight edge along the top here and measure the distance, and then measure the difference from the straight edge. It's only going to be probably a millimetre each end over that distance. We're straight here down these sides, so we're not too bad there. The insert doesn't have to fit all the way in and touch the bottom, so I can make it however deep I want to, as long as it fits nicely in here. It's going to be like a friction fit one. I'm not going to glue it in. I'm going to make it so it is removable. Now I'll cut this out. That's now cut out, so now time to start measuring. So I'm going to have to measure this angle as well. There's a slope back to this, and I'm going to have to kind of guess it, just because I've got a protractor and my angle finder is at home. So I'm going to kind of guess. It looks like it's probably 100 degrees ish. I've now printed the little insert for here, and that fits quite nicely, quite tight. It does come out, but it fits in there quite nicely, nice and snug. No reason to put any fixings in it. Just a nice friction fit. So that's now done. So if you enjoyed that video, give it your thumbs up, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye.